What's up, everybody? My name is Alan Kett. I'm here with Mir One at the Museum of Graffiti to celebrate his solo show. Mir, thank you for being with us.
Man, thank you so much. What an honor.
Metaphysical Surrealism. Totally incredible, mind-blowing for me and for everybody who's visited us. Tell us about that show.
Yeah, being a graffiti artist, I've allowed myself to. I'm also just an artist from being a little kid. My mother was a painter, so I've just allowed myself to expand in different directions with this creative journey. And I've always been fascinated in metaphysics, cycles of reality, time, astrology, magic, mythology, history, politics, and higher consciousness, and to kind of bring all these roads together, find that crossroad intersection. That's been my goal. This metaphysical surrealism has been my vehicle that's really brought all this together. Now I'm able to I'm able to find the research that fascinates me, the inspiration. Even as a graffiti artist, I always did some weird third eye stuff, and I was always taking it to like some distant planet or some distant space other than the MTA bus and the scribed window, which I was so used to. I just was compelled to, I don't know, it's like big game hunting. I wanted to go deep into some mystery and hunt down some mythical beast and bring it back and share it with everyone.
And you did it. I mean, the paintings are exactly that.
Yeah.
And so I want to ask you about some of these paintings because when people come in, there's so much in each of the pieces. There's so many stories and layers to each of the pieces. And so if you could touch on some of that information, maybe let's talk about Destroy Your Illusions a bit because
Sure.
that one really flips everybody out. And there's such a wide cast of characters in it.
I tell everyone that was my psychotherapist during the 2-year lockdown. I would clock in each morning with that piece and sit there and absorb from just searching subject matter stories on these individuals, their likeness, getting their face, getting their personality, but just researching more into them as I was going through this with everyone else, as we all were experiencing a total different reality suddenly, and the anger, the confusion, and also the knowledge that I had remembered from previous that I refused to forget, like 9/11 or the LA riots, or whatever. Even just digging into the assassination of JFK and all these traumatic experiences that Americans and humans go through, and if I didn't sit down and paint that piece, I would have lost my mind during that whole extravaganza. And so I wanted to create a piece that wasn't obvious. It wasn't like me complaining about it. It wasn't me saying this is good or this is bad. I wanted to create something like a mystery, a rabbit hole that would draw you in and pull you down in there and make you do some of the work too. And it really required your perspective and judgment to interpret the piece for yourself is what I really dug about it, because I am known for being rather poignant and specific sometimes. And yeah, man, that's been a new fascination of mine is kind of mixing the mystery up a little bit and making the people do some of the work to understand. Like you kind of have to be a little prepped. You got to know a little something before just looking at. Otherwise, you're just going to have a pure art experience. But there's other experiences I've encrypted in there I want you to have.
Sure. I mean, the piece is a beautiful piece in and of itself, but the information that you're delivering is powerful. You have the glass, you have the table,
Yeah.
transparent table. You have people at the table, people underneath the table. You have this light being warrior at the table. You have the pawns shackled.
Well, the people at the table, they're like this game of life, and we're very familiar with it. But then there's like this floor that we seem to forget, and it's like a glass ceiling. It is a kind of a barrier that, based on lots of different things, but we find ourselves in different places on this game. And I wanted to show that there was multi-layered, and that with the, by bringing together the human soul and our consciousness and our just our whole human suffering, and knowing this, that there's a collective consciousness that light warrior represents. Everyone beneath the floor represents kind of a teacher or an influence that I've looked to for knowledge or for wisdom or for direction throughout this time period, and just inspiration in general. I'm just really blown away at the human spirit when they speak out against wrong, and they're willing to put themselves in a position of loss, or subjective, or become subjected by the system just by speaking out. And so that we feel like it's impossible sometimes to take on the system. And so I wanted to give this light warrior this mythological identity that we're not alone, we're all together, and together we form this powerful entity that can cut through the illusions and show us what's real by using our critical thought and holding on to our humanity together. That was really the main focus of that. I brought some other mythologies in. At the top, I have the sun being blocked out by the conceptual artist Marina Abramovich, and I'm using her as an example of the darkness, because she's kind of a dark witch, and her stuff is rather satanic and bizarre, and it leaves a lot of question open. So I wanted to use her as, well, for instance, if the world is the way it is because of what we believe, then it could be changed just that quickly, just by changing our belief system. And I see belief is an art. So I used the artist, the dark artist, to obscure Greta's vision, so that she only gets half the picture, and she becomes the spokesperson of this other entity. And it's all this encrypted, enfolded, buried kind of messagery that's in here that I'm talking about. And it's also, like I said too, it is also open for that specific piece, especially is open for everyone's interpretation too, because we're all experiencing it together. So I'm really curious what people think about it too, because it was their experience that went through it also.
It's incredibly provocative.
Yeah.
Watching people engage with it, they find it to be humorous at times, and how you present Fauci or the Clintons.
Yeah.
They find it sort of alarming in how you present Greta as almost not seeing the full picture.
Kind of the sacrificial lamb.
The sacrificial lamb. And then it's also interesting watching people try to decipher who maybe has positivity, who are these, mentors or thoughtful humans that are maybe good, like Dr. Cornel West,
Right.
Or Ice Cube,
Right.
who's in there. And so it's really a great piece to
Julian Assange.
And so you stand there, or I stand there, and watch people engage with it and try to figure it out, and it's just a fascinating piece to present, to give yourself this time. I know you mentioned that it was your own therapy, but I think it becomes a bit of that for the viewer as well.
Man, I hope so.
I think it's fascinating, and so I want to ask you about some of the other ones, and I
Yeah.
think that there's the newest one, which you just completed on the way here, or actually even here, is the cosmic egg.
Yeah.
What is the cosmic egg?
It's called the Sky Dragon in the Cosmic Egg, and it is playing off of the original concept of mythology, like what is mythology and where did mythology come from and how do we use mythology, and some of the earliest mythos of our world that we can trace back to the Vedas and the ancient Sumerians, but pre-Sumerian, even up into what they call Scythia, which is Eurasia, and some of these ancient cultures believe that the universe was born in an egg, and it's a symbol that the sun and the moon and the humans came from this egg. The egg is a symbol of life, and I've used the serpent, which is the symbol of knowledge and wisdom, and also evil or good, depending on how you see it, as the counterpart in this picture, making it a cycle of life. And so the snake is swallowing the egg so that it might rebirth itself again, in a sense. From Quetzalcoatl to Kukulkan to the Chinese dragon to the European dragon to all these forms of dragon all over the planet, this mythological thing has been very real to the ancients, even though to us it's like it's mythology, but it's tied deep into our personal human soul, our kundalini power that lights up our chakra systems, to catastrophes that have happened cyclically around the planet. And many a time the comet that or the meteorite that is the cause of these catastrophes has been associated with this great serpent, the great plumed serpent, the feathered serpent. And it's a visual comparison to see a comet and see the feathered serpent head on it, in a sense. And so understanding how from planets to gods to beings from other realities are all kind of interplaying here, and they're being used with archetypes like Jupiter, Zeus, or Saturn, Kronos, and these characters that are deeply embedded in our human psychology. They've created our world. Our technology comes from these things. Our understanding of fire, water, electricity, the minerals in the earth, and magnetism, and all these things that we use to make lights and cameras and clothes and food, and our lives are made of this stuff. The mythos is buried deep in them already, and that to me is so fascinating that our educational system doesn't really embrace that knowledge any longer. And in fact, they go out of their way to bury it and to eradicate it from our knowledge.
Yeah, I think in your paintings, you are sharing all this knowledge that isn't mainstream. It isn't taught in schools. It isn't. You really have to search for it and to sort of find a path to find all these different references you're talking about, from the Vedas, on and on and on and on. And I'm fascinated by your ability to tap into it and move from quote unquote mythology or ancient wisdom, from painting to painting to painting, and sort of revealing this ancient wisdom or this ancient knowledge. And sitting around with or standing around with Doe's Green, looking at your paintings.
Love that dude.
He was pointing out the source of some of these references.
Wow.
And he really, for me and for the average viewer, a lot of it is very coded. And you might think a cloud is just a cloud, but it's not.
True.
And so I want to ask you about the Younger Dryas and about that painting, because I think that one, along with the other ones, have these different stories and also these different beings in it. Can you tell us a little bit about that painting?
Yeah, I'm super fascinated in it. I've been interested in Graham Hancock since I was younger, in his alternative versions of our ancient history and what that means for us now. And his one of his journeys was discovering that America was the source of some of this greatness, even though we don't have pyramids like Egypt or in Mexico, or like the Great Wall of China per se. That there is greatness here, and it's been hidden, and it's really America is the site of a great catastrophe, a much greater one than the rest of the world may have experienced in great sections of time, you know. The Southwest is a amazing place that's been a lot of inspiration. I've gone out there searching for some of these myths that I've been reading about, and you know, from everything from looking at landscapes and thinking that how could 100 million years of erosion leave a form that has continuity and beauty and aesthetic perfection to it in a sense, and there's repetition that is spread across Utah and Arizona and Colorado and Nevada and New Mexico and up into Montana and Idaho, that there's like this huge, it's called the Great Basin for one, and that's always been a mystery, like what is that? So this is like this site that has had an incredible catastrophe, and such a violent catastrophe that it literally melted the mountains and reformed them and left them frozen in the position that they were left in. There's traces of human language all over these rocks too.
The petroglyphs.
Yes, it's like 12,000 to several hundred years ago even, this period of time of great mythology and great language scribed into rocks like graffiti. And my original interest was that this is art. I want to go check out the art. Like, this is real artists that were out there creating deep, knowledged artwork in stone. And what I've realized now is that it's bigger than art. It's art, but it's art encrypted with language and knowledge and real factual history that's waiting for us to uncover it through the mythological shroud that it's been in, since we don't speak that language anymore.
And in those paintings, you see that. You see the Great Basin.
Yeah.
Right? You see the petroglyphs that are in there. So we know that you're a researcher. And then you see Graham's theories in there as well. And tell us a little bit about the giants versus the humans in that painting.
You know, from famous biblical stories of Gog, or like David and Goliath, or there's so many tales of armies that came to destroy nations, and they brought with them one or half a dozen of these incredibly large, strong people that would be anywhere between 7.5 to 12 feet tall. And that was always, you know, caught up in like, you know, fairy tale for me as a child that I loved. I was fascinated, but the more I've dug into this, there's evidence all over the planet of that what we look like right now is not who we once were, and that you know, catastrophes bring magnetic change to the world. That magnetic change would affect the size of our bodies based on the way the atmosphere and all this deep physics of how a body remains buoyant or under pressure. You know, like a dinosaur wouldn't be able to walk down the street right now because the atmosphere is too thin. They would break their hips and fall apart. When the dinosaurs were walking, the air was almost as thick as water. And that sounds unbelievable. It may have been, actually, the world was more of a water world in some ways, but all of these factors are just mind-blowing. They just take us. I mean, you think this is the way the world's always been, and it isn't, and it goes through massive changes, and I feel like we're in that time period right now. We're in another time period where the sun is very active. Our knowledge of the cosmos has really expanded. We're proving to ourselves through the James Webb Telescope that we don't know anything about the universe. All of our theories are completely incorrect suddenly. We're in a, what do they call it? We're in a cosmological crisis right now. So it's a perfect time to do exploration and ask the bigger questions and push the envelope of what's acceptable to believe and talk about. And for those who hold the power of the conversation, it's kind of time for them to relinquish it because they're wrong and they've lied to us. So that's the big exciting inspiration that stems that graffiti artist in me is that like, I'm not gonna do what you tell me. I'm gonna learn for myself. I'm not gonna believe what you tell me. I'm gonna inform myself.
Or you have a rebel spirit.
Absolutely.
And so we see it in the paintings, and we're very thankful that you've been able to travel so far with these paintings to share it with us,
Yeah.
and to do the work, because it takes a lot. I know it takes so much to paint it, but it
Yeah.
also takes so much to do the work, to receive the information,
Yeah.
and study and interpret and then share. And I think you're doing a great service to our community, and to the world, quite frankly, in being a truth seeker, and being, inquisitive and curious and challenging, these beliefs that don't necessarily serve us. So thank you very much for doing that work.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It's it's I mean, after growing up a graffiti writer, there's no other way for me to go that would satisfy me than to find my own way, to find my own path, to come back with something arbitrary, or not arbitrary, but like an argument against, the oppression that we all wanted to scribe over in the first.